The Hangout is live, everybody. Welcome back. It is yet another Friday. It's 10 minutes past 7 o'clock p.m. Sorry for the delay, but we were trying to get some other people in here, everybody. Welcome to our little soiree. And I'm joined again with Amy, and I'm joined again with Dominic, and I'm joined again with Henry. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Howdy, howdy.
Hello.
Yo, people.
Okay, look, before we get started, we're trying to get Jason in here. He's Blue Blood Guitar. And Blue, if you're listening, I just dropped you a brand new link in your comments. I'm going to delete it in a minute because I don't want the link to the show, the Hangout. Don't want it to be public for very long. And he just said it's the same as the last link. It sends me to Google Play App Store. Huh.
How weird.
Now Blue, just communicate with me in the chat, and I know there's a delay, but we'll work through it. Are you getting now you said it takes you to the App Store. Are you by any chance getting what's known as a 403 error message? And are you on Skype? Because if you're on Skype, that's a whole hell of a lot easier. But anyway, you guys, we're going to be talking a little bit about Flat Earth tonight. We've got Henry with us. Henry is favoring the Flat Earth side, and if you've been listening to the show, you know I am not. You know Amy is not. You know Dominic is not. And I want to get Jason in here because Jason he's also on the side of the Flat Earth. I want this to be a balanced discussion. We're going to do everything we can to remain respectful. This is not about bashing. We're not going to be calling anybody names. We're going to do this in a respectful way as much as possible. Of course, we will have a few laughs because there's some silly shit to talk about. So there it is. And we were we were originally going to be we invited Jason Kozlowski? Jesse Kozlowski. Thank you. We invited Jesse Kozlowski. He's a friend of Dominic's. He's a geodetic surveyor. Apparently, he's at work right now, and
he's out with his family having a meal and doesn't want to talk to flat earthers. That was his exact words.
Well, in a way, you kind of can't blame him. But hey, we're going to talk about it anyway, with or without him. And I hope he doesn't mind. But I might be using some videos from his channel because he's done some great work over there, I think. And I've also got some video clips that I'm going to be showing from Wolfie 6020 channel. He was another friend of yours. Is that right, Dominic?
Yep.
And didn't you? What did you say before we went live? Wolfie is an airline pilot.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Before we get into this flat Earth thing, let me get a couple of things out of the way. I don't know how it is in England, and I would really like to have your perspective, Dominic. But real quick, let me get a few things out of the way. A couple of news items. Over here, we're having a rash, would be putting it mildly, okay? Because today there were 3 more sex scandal people, big shots, big names, people just going down, dropping like flies. Are you having that over there?
I'll be honest, today I haven't looked at any mainstream media at all. I've been on a real truth diet. I haven't had any bullshit influence from I haven't clicked on any mainstream media sites. I don't have a television, so I haven't watched any of that. So I've had no interface with that system at all today. But I'm going to go and look, and I'm going to say, yeah, probably.
Well, listen, this is not just today. This is something that we've been going through over here for, oh God, how long has it been now? A month? It's somebody new every damn day. It's between Hollywood and Congress. Help me out here, Henry. How long has this been going on?
We definitely know it's been going on for a while. No surprise for anyone here. If you're surprised on it, it goes back from way back when. You know what I mean? Look at like on the last show, I talked about Kathy O'Brien. It's been happening for a long, long time. So.
Well, I'm talking about the people that are dropping, the people that are going down.
The
actors, comedians,
outpouring of
congressmen, every other day. Someone else.
You know what it is? The reason.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason why they're all coming out now is because they didn't want to be that lone wolf. You know what I mean? So now that everyone is coming out, yeah, the victims. So now it's easier for them to come out and expose these people all together. That's how they're doing it. You know, the same thing as the truther movement. They need to come out all together.
Well, look, we've had instances in the past. I mean, look, before this whole house of cards started crumbling, months and months and months ago, what was it, 6 months ago? Oh crap.
Oh shit, that scared the fuck out of me right now.
Sorry, hold on.
What was that?
That's my
Good question.
What's going on, Henry? Henry.
Sorry guys, yeah, that was one of my the business owners here.
Okay, all right. Well, it still leaves. It still hasn't. It just left my brain and hasn't come back. The black guy, Huxley. You know the character, the Huxleys. You remember the TV show? Oh God. Cosby, right? The Cosby Show. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
That was what, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Longer, wasn't it? Wasn't that longer?
No, yeah, longer than that.
Okay. Well, look, my point is, in the last month, literally, it's like almost every day. And look here,
right. Can I just? Do you know, has Harvey Weinstein been arrested yet?
No, he hasn't.
He still hasn't been.
No.
Has Kevin Spacey been arrested yet?
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
No, they're making accusations up the yin yang, and they're doing nothing. It's like, yeah, you. You
So
did
they've
it.
given them
You
up,
did it.
but
You
they
did it.
haven't given them up.
And they just fired Matt Lauer.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, he's a
him.
big shot TV, talking.
Yeah.
News reporter. Yeah.
I remember hearing about him, and I had to Google him, and he's a huge anchor on networks over there.
Huge Talking Dead over here. But here's the thing about Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer, that whole issue was internal. Nobody came out publicly and accused Matt Lauer. That whole thing was internal. They could have handled it internally. They could have kept it quiet. They fried that guy, whether he's guilty or not. The point is that they fried that guy on an accusation the next day from an internal accusation.
Has he been arrested?
Well, no, of course not. No.
No
one has. No one has.
How many movie stars have been caught with cocaine, with prostitutes, with doing illegal things? How many of them ever get actual prison time? I think didn't Robert Downey Jr. go to prison once?
I think he did.
Yeah, occasionally somebody,
or should I say, I think we were told he did. Now, whether he actually did or not, who knows?
But here's my...
Harvey Weinstein was big news, wasn't he, a few weeks ago? It was big breaking news. And yet now, here we are weeks later with all these, what was it, 30 plus allegations of assault and still no arrest.
Before we get too deep into this, I want to put this out there for anybody who's watching, anybody in the chat, anybody who wants to come and argue for the side of the flat earth, say so in the chat, and more than likely we'll be happy to drop you the link and have you come in and talk to us. And we're trying to get Jason in here. Jason, the last time Dominic had trouble, he deleted everything after the question mark in that giant link, which, by the way, I'm going to delete now. So I hope you got it, because I don't want this thing public.
You should not have put that public.
Well, it's gone now. Amy, you need to go delete yours. Anyway.
I've deleted both efforts long ago. I didn't leave them up extremely long.
Get him to download Skype and just send it on Scout. Skype's probably the easiest thing. It works every time.
Yeah, Jason, I'm on Skype. If you want to get Skype real quick, if you can get it real quick, it's Rufus Cat with a space between Rufus and Cat. It's not one word like it is on YouTube. It's ROOFUS space Cat, and you can connect with me on Skype. Anyway, I just want to extend an invitation to anybody who wants to join in and argue. Hey, Jerry Cthulhu's in the chat. Jerry, you want to come hang out with us? You want to come argue for flat Earth, or just come put your 2 cents in? Say so. We'll give you the link. In fact, what I'll do, since I'm on Skype with Jerry and I've got him right here, I'll just give him the link and he can make up his own mind. But anyway, I do want this to be a balanced discussion. We're not here to just bash and, you know, name call. However, I have a lot of respect for Henry. Henry's here with us. I want to give him plenty of time. And I want to say I've got a lot of respect for Henry. Henry's an honorable man, okay? I won't go into exactly why, but I've got a history, a little bit of a history with Henry. I believe him to be a truly honorable man. For the life of me, I don't know why he's flat Earth, but if I can change his mind, then I will have done my job.
I'm with you on that, Aaron. I have found Henry to be superlatively honorable. And I too am mystified on the flat Earth thing.
Henry,
He's very bright.
I want to give you the floor, man. Why don't you do us a favor and tell us, what is it about the flat Earth that attracted you, and why are you now on the flat Earth bandwagon?
All right, so it happened about maybe like 3 years ago. I was just digging, you know, guys, definitely we've been digging in online for a long time. And like, you know, we have PhDs in Google, right? You know what I mean? For searches. So, you know, for my ball started rolling, if you guys look at my 16-year video, it was 2002 when I finally woke up to like the Illuminati, the New World Order, Skull and Bones, right? So throughout then, in 2005, I finally woke up onto 9/11, right? And then after that, the ball kept rolling. And then in 3 years ago, and someone showed me this video. I think it was by I think Eric Dubé or somebody pretty big already. And then and I wanted to debunk it. So I sat there, and you know, me being someone that's, you know, Bible believing, I believe in the Lord, and I prayed about it, you know, and I wanted to debunk it. I didn't want to be called an idiot, right? You know, because most people, you know, right when you say you believe in a flat Earth, you're just straight up a conspiracy theorist right away, right? So so let me try to debunk it. Well, let me go back to my Bible, and let me go back to my military background, right? So so me being a forward observer, right? In the military, there's a forward observer. You know, we work with radar, we work with all types of heavy artillery and things like that. And we fired our weapons with no evidence of anything curving on the earth. We always just locked in the grid and we fired upon effect, and that was it. Even when, and then say, I was stationed almost all around the world, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Say that again. Just say that last part again. You were a forward position.
Forward observer.
Okay.
Meaning, yeah,
you fired your weapons with no what again?
With no curvature inside the equation.
And what was the range of your weapons? Are you talking about like
miles,
like big guns that shoot?
Yeah, heavy HE. Yep. Heavy artillery, meaning miles and miles. Yep. And then you know, besides that, you know, I was stationed in Alaska, right? So it says that we spin on a spinning ball at 1,000 miles at the equator. So given the calculations in California where I spin about 900 to 800 miles an hour, right? So then when I got on a plane and I flew to Alaska.
I've been there twice.
You've been there twice. So, and I got off the plane, why didn't I feel a hundreds of mile difference in spin? How is that possible for me not to feel that?
I can answer that. When you get on a plane, you are moving at
400,
about certain amount of speed.
Okay.
And off, you don't really notice the difference because you shifted from one frame of reference to another frame of reference to a third frame of reference.
Okay. And well, now when we get off a Ferris wheel and we get off any spinny gravitational gravitron at the fair, any of that stuff, you're gonna feel dizzy right away. You don't feel dizzy. Oh, I went.
Well,
I
yeah.
adjusted. Go ahead, baby.
Well, let me put it this way, Henry, just from my own personal experience, because I have been to Alaska.
Mhm.
When you flew, you're in California, so when you flew to Alaska, it was what, about a 5-hour flight?
Yeah, around there.
Okay,
5, 6
I'm in
hours.
Atlanta, so for me it was about a 7, maybe a 7.5-hour flight, depending on tailwinds and shit.
Okay.
So it's not a huge difference, 5 hours, 7 hours. The point is,
Mhm.
in 5 hours time is the time it took for you to change the rotational speed that you are talking about, the one that you perceptively didn't notice. In a matter of 5 hours, it's not as if you were in like a teleportation machine that all of a sudden, bang, you're there, and your rotation from several hundred to 1,000 just dropped. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, but still, you're going hundreds of miles less, is what it is.
Well, why would you? I mean, why would you even expect to feel it?
You should be able to feel it. You've been spinning at
Why?
that location on California, or in the equator at 1,000 miles an hour, and you shift your location to somewhere else, and you're saying that you've been spinning. Say you lived in California all your life, and then you've been spinning that, and that's at that rotation all the time, and now you moved in a different location, whether faster or slower. You should be able to feel that movement.
Okay, now
Wait there, can I just jump in at
now
this point?
you've got a globe, Henry, and I've got a globe. We showed each other our globes before we went live, and I'm sitting here looking at my globe, and I can see the equator, and I can see California, and I can see Alaska. And when I look at my globe and I measure with a pencil or a piece of paper from the equator to California, and I take that same measurement, it's about the same distance from California to Alaska. So when you're in California, you're not spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. You have to be at the equator to be spinning at 1,000 miles an hour.
So
I just want to be a little bit accurate with a little bit more accurate with these numbers, because if you're in California, you're halfway to Alaska.
Yeah. I have that picture or the diagram at home, but I'm at the office right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and look for it. Go ahead, Dom.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, this whole thing of using the term spinning and using the 1,000 mile an hour numbers. So because to us, 1,000 miles an hour sounds very fast, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
1,000. We're moving,
many.
spinning at 1,000. But look at it in another way. Look at it in the terms of it's one rotation.
It takes 24 hours. That's right.
It takes 24 hours to revolve.
That's right. It's like being on the airplane itself, Henry. When you're on the airplane and you get up to go to the bathroom.
This is a big problem.
That was my point, Aaron.
Go ahead, Don.
Go ahead. Yeah.
The big thing that is never mentioned, that's one thing they always speak about is perspective, but what people don't talk about at all is ratio. And in terms of the mass of the planet, we are tiny. We are so small.
Mm-hmm.
And to think, go
ahead. Go ahead, Dom.
Well, 1,000 miles an hour, it sounds fast, doesn't it? Like, whoa, the ball's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. Well, it's not. It's turning once on its axis in 24 hours. Try spinning a ball on your finger and get it to turn once in 24 hours. That's not so fast, is it? It's because we're so small. We're so tiny in comparison to it.
Right.
Okay, guys.
Bart made it.
Blue Blood Guitar just connected with me on Skype, and I just dropped him the link, so we should be seeing Jason in the chat here with us in a moment. And we're glad to be joined with our pal Bart. How you doing, Bart?
Doing pretty good. I made it not all that late. What, half hour late? Not bad.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
We were going to fire you, but then we decided that there was an opening, so you got the job.
Doc is pay. Doc is pay. That's all.
Yeah, you're fired, but don't go anywhere because there's an opening.
Okay, cool. Nice.
All right. Okay. So check this out. I know you guys say that we're just so small. We don't feel movement because it's so big. Okay, so we still got to go back to saying that we move at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, right? So if you think about it, if we create the biggest Ferris wheel, right, or I mean a merry-go-round, right, that moves at 1,000 miles an hour, so you're going from point A to point B at 1,000 miles an hour. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big the Earth is. It doesn't matter how big the merry-go-round is. You're moving at 1,000 miles an hour. So go ahead.
What I'm going to point out is that if you are in that airplane, you don't going 500 miles an hour, whatever the speed is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell you're moving. So
Yeah,
whatever frame of, no, you can't. You can't feel the forward movement. You might feel a bump or two up and down, but I mean, while you're accelerating, that's different.
Why is that though, Amy? Why is it though? Why is that you don't feel it?
Well, because you're moving along with everything that's around you at the same speed. So everything moves with you.
That's
so
called an
relative to what's around you. Relative to what's around you, there is no speed. Does that make sense? On the outside, things are moving. But on the inside of the plane, everything's moved. That's why you can stand in the middle of the aisle.
Yeah.
In a plane.
That's what I'm getting
it's
at.
At cruise speed and drop a pencil and it doesn't go flying to the back of the plane. It's moving along with you. So you don't feel any movement once you hit the cruise speed where there's no acceleration. And that's the key. You will feel differences when there's acceleration. But regardless of where you are in the planet and how fast it is going relative to the space outside, you're moving along with it. And so you have no acceleration and it will all feel the same. Just like it feels the same when you're standing in the airplane.
The key term here is inertial frames.
Yes, that's the good word.
So that phenomenon that you're describing is shortcut to a concept called an inertial frame. And sort of if you think about, let's say you're on that plane and you also have an orange and then you have an ant climbing all over that orange. You know, if you know.
Take it one step further. Turn it into a basketball, and it's a microbe on the basketball.
Yeah, an amoeba on a basketball or a beach ball. You know, something even bigger. Yeah, it's phenomenally small.
Okay, but how do you know that micro or ant or whatever it is not feeling the movement? Like you guys are saying about the plane, right? You're standing inside of a plane. You're inside. You guys get it? If you're open airspace, kind of like Earth, right? We have an atmosphere that spins and orbits at thousands upon thousands, 6,000 miles an hour around the sun. At 1,000 miles an hour, it spins. How are you, and you're in open airspace, how are you as an ant not feeling that?
Because, Henry, you're assuming that the air is not moving with the Earth. Clearly,
the air is.
Yeah, the air
does move, but it does not move with the spin of the Earth.
Absolutely.
You're saying that the Earth is the air is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour with the Earth.
Whoa, back, look. The reason it does and it doesn't, and when it doesn't, it creates what we call storms.
Or weather, just weather.
Well, sure, but those are only differentials of you know, between 5, 10, 20, 50 miles an hour, and a hurricane is 75 miles an hour.
We assume the air is weightless, and it's not. You've got a couple of pounds of air pressure on your head at all times.
But even in a hurricane, if the hurricane is whipping around at 100 miles an hour, that's only a differential of 10%. But in other words, Henry, the entire atmosphere is in fact rotating with the Earth. Because the fact is, if you stepped outside in 1,000-mile-an-hour wind, it'd pull your skin right off.
Okay.
Yep.
So how do we get? So if we're spinning at 1,000 miles and it's spinning, you guys are saying the clouds.
It's not spinning, is it? We mustn't use that term. It's rotating on its axis.
It's rotating. I'm sorry. So let's say it's rotating with the Earth. So how do you get if it's going counterclockwise, right? You guys are saying that? That's how the Earth is spinning?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so how are we getting winds going in the opposite direction then? If we're always spinning this way.
Because you're getting
so it has to go for more than plus 1,000 miles an hour then at that.
Okay.
But that's irrelevant.
Hold on.
That's irrelevant, Henry. We're only talking about minor differentials. Now, like I said, if you were in a hurricane that was moving at 100 miles an hour, that's only a 10% differential. We don't have 100-mile-an-hour winds. You walk outside, and the average breeze is between 5 and 7 knots, which is only 3 to 5 miles an hour.
If there's a breeze.
If there's a breeze, right. Most days it's quite calm, isn't it?
Okay.
Yep.
But we understand
what I
what
want to
causes
point out.
breeze. We understand what causes wind. What
I want to point out is that the whole system is rotating very slowly once every 24 hours, and that includes the air, because there is no friction on the space side, so there's nothing pulling it back, so it moves along with the planet's surface. Because of that, this is on average overall, the whole system rotates. So
Okay.
you're only going to be feeling any winds relative to the Coriolis type effects.
Right. So Amy, you're saying 1,000 miles an hour is slowly.
I'm saying 1,000 miles an hour is irrelevant.
Okay.
It's because everything is moving in the same frame of reference, and the curvature is so small that we only go around once every 24 hours, not like on a tilt-a-wheel or whatever, where you're going around, 15 times a minute, which that will affect your balance and whatnot, but not going around once every 24 hours.
Okay.
And the 1,000 miles an hour is not, that's relative to outer space, relative to the planet. We're not, that frame of reference, we're not spinning. We're not going 1,000 miles an hour.
We're rotating very slowly. For the size of the planet, it's rotating very slowly. It takes 24 hours to rotate once. If it was much smaller, you might feel that 1,000 miles an hour. But because the planet has got a radius of 6,000 kilometers.
Okay, look. Let's move on to the next point, or at least some other point. I mean, we're already 20 minutes to 8 right now. I don't want to beat this one topic to death.
Okay.
On the
good.
note of moving at 1,000 miles an hour on the flat Earth model, with the sun hovering and circling overhead.
Sorry.
Sounds crazy, yeah.
Yeah, what I'm trying to figure out is how in the heck ever can the sun rise and set if it's going around above us?
I've got some paper and I've got a Sharpie, and I want to show you something, Henry.
Okay, yeah. To answer Amy's question really quick, it's like a porch light. When your porch light is on, you're not lighting up the whole block, right? You're lighting up your porch. It's the same concept. So
no, the porch light doesn't rise and set.
Well, if you move the porch light, yeah, it can.
Well,
but
it's if you've got a porch light and it's on, and you're rotating it around overhead, it's you
have you seen the flat Earth map, Amy? You have, right?
Of course we have. Of course we have.
Far too many. I'm just saying there is no way that this sun can retain the same size and go down below a horizon.
And wouldn't it accelerate?
And that's
it would also accelerate as it moved overhead. It would become larger and accelerate also, wouldn't it? As it went overhead.
Let me throw this at you. Let me throw this at you, Henry.
Go ahead.
And I know you got your globe there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't do graphics, but this will do. It's just a piece of paper with a Sharpie. Okay.
Yeah.
For
Now,
those of
you
you
can
that aren't watching, Aaron's now going basic.
Aaron's
basic.
going Santos Bonacci on you.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Aaron's going
Don't go
Santos
Max
Bonacci
Ego,
with a
okay?
Sharpie
Just
and a piece of
Go
paper.
Santos Bonucci, don't go Max Ego.
All right. Pretty obvious.
Better.
Pretty obvious. We've got the outer wall, right? This is a flat Earth model. The outer circle and the inner dark circle. Let me get my pen. We're going to call that the equator. The two dotted lines are the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Okay? All right?
Yep.
Because we do know that the sun moves from the equinox to the solstice, back and forth from one tropic to the next, right? There's no question. That's observed worldwide. Even flat earthers have their crazy explanations as why that happens. But what I want you to really think about is this. The outer circle, which is the Tropic of Cancer, or Capricorn, forgive me, which one is which?
Capricorn.
Yeah, Cancer is the little one. Okay. Capricorn is the outer circle, which is a large diameter circle, compared to the inner circle, Tropic of Cancer. That's a smaller diameter. Right? Yes? Right?
Yes.
Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
We got two different diameter circles. However, it doesn't matter whether it's winter or summer or the equinox, it's still, the sun comes around 24 hours. It still comes around at the same time. And yet we're talking about two different sized circles, which if you open them up, if I cut a piece of paper or like I strung it out like string, the big circle is longer distance than the small circle.
Oh, I can explain that. That's CGI.
Now it defies not only logic, but it defies physics, because if you have, let's say I had a ball on a string and I spun that ball on a string and I spun it at one rotation every second. And then you could calculate the diameter of the circle of the string of the ball that's whipping around. Like a pirouette, like an ice skater who does a pirouette. When they bring their arms in, they move faster. So in other words, if you have the same inertia, okay, we have the sun on the flat Earth model going around the Tropic of Capricorn, okay? It's a big diameter. Somehow the sun moves and makes a smaller diameter circle with assuming the same inertia,
Right.
which would make the sun move faster. With that amount of inertia and a smaller circle, or in other words, less distance to travel, it would come around sooner. It doesn't. It's 24 hours a day, all day long, all year long.
That's why we have longer sunnier days, and the other days we have shorter sun, right? Yes or no? We do, right?
Yeah, but then we
does
have
that happen?
Yeah,
it does.
Henry,
You
but
see what I'm saying?
24-hour cycle.
It is still a 24-hour cycle. Yep. And that is, you did raise a good question. I still say that the sun is, I don't know if it's speeding up if it goes on the outer rings, but there's a winter solstice, like you said, there's an equinox, and there's a summer solstice.
It would have to speed up and slow down. The sun would have to speed up and slow down in order to accommodate the tropics. Do you know what I mean? You're talking about two diameter circles. One is distance longer than the other.
Yeah,
it's still a 24-hour cycle.
We're all ganging up on him. I'm going to be a flat earther from now on. Look, it's CGI, bullshit, and NASA are putting a projection into the sky to make it appear like it's 24 hours, and they're messing around with your watches all at the same time. It's actually 28 hours. Okay? Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. What have you got? Come back, come on.
Yeah, this isn't about ganging up on Henry, but
No, it is. I'm not.
Unfortunately, Henry's the only one with enough courage to show up and debate for the flat Earth. You know what? We've put out videos previously. We have tried to invite anybody to come and debate the flat Earth with us. Nobody will show up. And look, we're not disrespectful. We're not calling anybody names. And you got.
Oh yeah, of course not.
You want to talk? I'll shut up. When nobody's running you over. You know what I mean?
Well, if Mark Sargent's watching now, he always comments on my videos. So, Mark, if you are watching now, come in, jump in the chat. Aaron will send you a link.
You goddamn right I will. Somebody come and argue for flat Earth. I don't want to just beat up on Henry, but I love Henry, and I would love for him to come back to the globe Earth because we can prove it, bro.
Yeah, but I think
still haven't yet.
A lot of it is because of deceptive bastards like Rob Skiba, a known con man.
Yes,
a known con man that was involved with that prophecy club and all that. Just e-begging essentially. You know, and he's a wealthy.
I like Rob still. I like Rob still.
Are you a Rob Skiba fan?
I'm not his fan, but I like his work. So I do like him. But I'm pointing out more of like the shills like Eric Dubé or IPS or Jeranism. All those other guys that are, yeah. So all those guys that are shills, that are control opposition, that came out when flat Earth happened. I'm not part of that camp.
Okay, so listen, Henry, there's a couple of different models for flat Earth. One of them has a dome and one does not have a dome. Where are you on this scale?
According to the Bible, there is a dome. It's called the firmament. So dome, flat Earth, yeah.
Yeah, but Henry, what we've got to bear in mind is we know that there are historical facts in the Bible. There are facts in the Bible for certain, but
we also know there's allegory in the Bible.
I was about to say the more esoteric elements of the Bible are open to interpretation. The four corners of the earth.
The firmament is referred to as the waters above, separating the waters above and the waters below. And it may be easy to understand that primitive people, and I say primitive, I don't mean cavemen. I'm just talking about relatively uneducated people, you know, a couple thousand years ago, maybe. It's not unreasonable to assume that it would be easy to convince relatively uneducated people that, hey, you see that water falling from the sky? You know, we call it rain, but, you know, there's water above and there's, you know, obviously there's lakes and oceans and rivers, water above, water below. Where's the water above come from? They didn't understand condensation.
Yeah. No,
I mean, that's a little bit reasonable to consider.
Well, one of the reasons they didn't is because, sadly, the church forbade people from learning to read and write. I wonder why that would be. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with religion, but I am saying there's something very wrong with the higher orders of the religious institutions, all of them.
Yeah, definitely. If you think of like the Vatican and how they controlled everything, and the Jesuits, I totally agree. But not all churches,
not just Christianity, but also Wahhabism.
Oh, of course,
Arabia with Muslims.
Yeah, I do agree. Yeah,
most every organized religion. You have certain.
Well, it's been co-opted. All religions get co-opted, don't they? Christianity was co-opted by the Roman Empire.
Yes.
Yeah, they try to merge it together. Yeah, go ahead.
We've got a guy in the chat right now, and his YouTube channel name is NASA Lies. That's a topic that we are going to get to, because NASA is absolutely full of shit. And everybody on this panel, myself, Amy, and Dominic, who are strongly for globe Earth, we all agree that NASA is completely full of shit.
Look, you can sum up NASA very simply. NASA are a government agency, therefore you cannot trust them.
NASA is not only a government agency, but they were started by a pack of fucking Nazis.
Yep. Well, that just adds, you know, that just adds icing to the cake, doesn't it? Proof.
So look, I just want to make this very clear for anyone who's favoring flat Earth, that all of us in the round globe Earth community, per se, we don't dispute that NASA is completely full of shit. We've seen the bubbles.
Yes.
Okay, we've seen the fucking bubbles.
I made a video on it.
We've seen the same background behind several shots said to be miles apart.
But that in itself, all All that is proof that NASA are deceivers. It's not proof of a flat Earth, or it's not
Exactly.
proof of a border.
Exactly. Exactly. It proves nothing relative to the shape.
There's
of the
another
planet.
reason. Let's just go ahead and get this out of the way since we're on it. We believe, certainly we can prove maybe microscopic portions of it, but it's mostly a belief because we can't really truly prove the secret space program. But it stands to reason that there is one. Everything the government does is in secret. Every time a new technology comes out, they hold it for 50, 60 years before they give it to the public. And that includes radio, television, internet, you fucking name it.
And that'll be a watered down.
And some things they keep holding on, like electrogravitics.
That's right. Free energy, electrogravitics. This is the kind of shit that they'll never tell us about.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's reasonable to assume that they would, in fact, if they did have, and they do have, high technology, what do you think they're going to do with it? They're going to use that shit, and they're not going to tell us.
Yeah,
where do you think all of our money is going?
They're going to hide it in plain sight, aren't they?
Now, if you believe the Terence McKenna, is that the hacker or is that the philosopher? I hope I didn't get the name wrong.
Oh, I think it's, don't you mean the CIA operative?
McKinnon.
Oh, okay. That was the guy that hacked, Gary McKinnon.
Gary McKinnon. Sorry. Thank you.
Gary
McKinnon is the guy who.
Look, all of us in the round earth community, at least most of us, Jerry Cthulhu just said the moon landing was a spell on the minds of humanity. True. We don't believe in the moon landing. That was bullshit. Okay.
Very much.
Now that doesn't mean that we can't go there. We don't.
That doesn't mean they haven't been there a dozen times.
Right. It just means that they didn't do it when they said and the way they said.
It just means that everything they showed us was complete bullshit.
Right. Now we've seen the bubbles in space. Yep. We've seen the copy and paste clouds. I've been to NASA website myself. I've seen the copy and paste clouds. NASA's completely, utterly full of shit. But there's a reason, and I don't think it's flat Earth. I think it's secret space.
In fact, what I have been able to glean is that NASA, seeing that we were waking up to the fact that they were full of shit, said, "Gee, we need something to distract people from thinking of maybe realizing the real reason we're faking it. So we'll put out this flat Earth thing and get them going on that, distracting them from thinking about other reasons we might be faking things and lying to them."
It's a good point. A really good point.
And so it seems that the whole thing came out of NASA, which makes it extremely ironic when I see people using the NASA lies as some kind of proof that the planet is flat. It's like, oh my gosh.
I mean, I like it. Yeah, go ahead, Amy.
No. Go ahead.
I just want to say that it seems that they got the Pentagon to implement this psyop. At any rate, go ahead, Henry.
Go ahead, Henry.
Okay, so I like it how Aaron said that there's a secret. What did you say? A secret space? What did you say? A
secret program.
Secret space program, right? The secret is above us is heaven. That's what it is. That's what they're trying to keep away from you.
So
that's the whole shebang.
You really think heaven is a physical place?
Heaven is a spiritual place.
If it's a spiritual place, then it's not above us. It's everywhere.
No, it's not everywhere.
Yeah.
Heaven's not everywhere. So you say it's a. So we say that we don't believe in NASA. We don't believe we know that they ran Project Paperclip, that hired all these, that got all these NASA people. I mean, all these Nazis after the war to recruit them into do.
Wait there, let's get this straight here. Project Paperclip wasn't just about the rocket scientists.
Yeah, the majority of it,
not just the rocket scientists, but all the other vile experiments on that.
Oh yeah, MK Ultra, biological, chemical.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just rocket scientists.
No. But NASA was in fact started by a pack of Nazis. But go ahead, Henry.
Exactly.
And occultists, bear in
So then
mind.
you-
Big
so then
time
you guys-
occultists.
That's right.
So
That's
then
right.
we see videos. I did a video myself on NASA. I call it destroying Nazi NASA Jesuit with air bubbles, right? You guys definitely, I'm pretty guys, you guys seen it on YouTube. So we see the air bubbles. We see them faking the moon landing. We see them doing all this stuff, and they keep telling you and they keep showing you this round spherical blue marble, and yet we are supposed to believe in it. You know, why are they pushing that narrative? It's like a false flag or a hoax, right? Why are we believing the 64-year-old man went into Mandalay Bay and shot up, you know, killed 50 some plus people and injured
apples and oranges.
500?
That's apples.
It's not apples and oranges. Why are we believing the narrative? That's what I'm saying. We should question the narrative.
Okay, questioning the narrative is good, and okay, fair enough. I don't doubt that. That's a valid point. Question the narrative,
Yeah.
and that's what we're doing here tonight. And I've got, okay, we're almost at 8 o'clock. I'm trying to keep an eye on the clock because this is an argument that's going to go in circles, and I don't want that to happen. I want to cover a couple of different topics, but I do want to try to give everybody fair time to hash out their point of view. And you're right, Henry. Questioning the narrative is absolutely a good thing, and this is not our problem. This is not my problem. This is not the globe Earth problem with the flat Earth people. That's not the questioning. Is not the problem. Questioning. Look, I questioned when I first saw flat Earth, you know, on YouTube start popping up. I ignored it at first. I thought this is fucking crazy, and it kept coming. I kept seeing it, and I said, okay, let's have a look. And I literally spent 2 solid weeks. And that's all I did was watch everybody's flat Earth videos for the first literally 2 solid weeks. And so much could be said. A lot of disingenuous arguments, a lot of lacking in knowledge in math and perspective. Okay, I saw tons of that. And then I thought, okay, these guys are freaking. I don't want to be mean or rude. I'm not trying to call names, but it was bunk. Okay, that was my first conclusion. And since then, I continue to come back because there are, at least at the beginning when I first started looking, there were a few compelling arguments like the flight paths, which have been explained, and I'm going to get to that. Okay, we're going to get to the flight paths.
Can we mention Max Egan?
Your turn, Dom. What about him?
Well, Max Egan was one of the guys that brought up the flight paths, wasn't it? The fact that, you know, a 14-hour flight roughly from the southern tip of South America to anywhere in Australia or New Zealand, which on a flat Earth map is on the opposite side, isn't it?
Well, if we want to talk about flight paths, then I may have to do a screen share and show a
anyway,
video.
we're talking about Max Egan and flight paths. He did a video about that. And then how long ago was it that he became a flat earther?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know when he shifted.
A couple of months ago, very recently, very recently. I think he's a bit desperate. It needs to go to Hawaii again, so you make a lot more money on YouTube saying the Earth is flat than being boring like us and saying no, actually, sorry, it's a globe.
That's true.
Let me throw this out there. The geometry of the equinox doesn't work on the flat Earth. And what I mean by that is if you had a telescope and you were tracking the sun. Now, Henry, do you ever play with telescopes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mess with them, yeah.
Do you ever play with the ones that have multiple axes for adjustments? Or do you have a cheap one? Because mine is really old and cheap. Mine has no, mine has no adjustments, no rotation. You just have to point it by hand and look.
Yeah, I do have one. Yeah, just like that too. Nothing too crazy on the axis stuff. Yeah.
You ever mess with one that had gimbals where you can adjust all the different axes?
Nope, haven't had none of that.
But you understand the concept.
Yeah, I do.
When you turn a handle, you can crank one axis left and right, axis, horizontal, one axis, right? There's 3 different axes for 3 dimensions. You want to track something.
Yeah.
You got to have that thing pointed in the right direction, and you have to have it moving in the right direction. Okay. So you get that much, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. The geometry, if you were tracking the sun with a telescope, the geometry of the equinox, which is the path of the sun, is impossible on a flat Earth because, and I'll show you a video to prove it, you can't track the sun on a single, on a flat Earth model with the sun circling above, you can't track the sun on a single axis with a telescope.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can.
No, not on a flat Earth.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. You're going to have to explain that one to me.
Fight about it.
I'll Rochambeau you for it.
Game of noughts and crosses. A game of noughts and a friendly game of tiddlywinks for it.
Do you know the game Rochambeau? We kick each other in the nuts. I go first.
No, let's not play that. Let's not play that.
I like that.
All right.
You could try that game with
Look,
me, Aaron.
Once you set up your telescope, you can track the sun on a single axis with the telescope. That can't. If you have the
That
sun,
proves a flat Earth. That proves a flat Earth, doesn't it?
how?
Well, how does it not?
Would you like to see the video? You would like to see Wolfie's video on this?
No, I'll just answer every question with a question.
Oh, that's right. You're
Devil advocate.
that's right. Dominic is
I'm objecting.
Playing the flat Earth side.
exercise and debate.
Exercising debate, yes. It's CGI. NASA did it.
Okay, wait. You know, speaking of CGI, some people who talk about the dome talk about it being a projector screen, which is their only explanation for the motion of the stars. Because if there's a physical dome, and I'll let Henry jump in on this, because Henry's a dome, subscriber to the idea of the dome.
Yep.
If we have a physical dome, a physical structure known as a dome, the firmament, physical.
Yep.
Where do meteors come from?
Either from NASA or military, or you're talking about from heaven. Because in the Bible, it talks about wormwood, about a comet from in the book of Revelations. So fire, stars.
Was it a fiery comet? Was it?
I don't know.
As being fiery? They normally are, aren't they? I think in the Bible.
Yeah. It can be if it falls.
So it was
falls,
fiery,
yeah.
but it was in water. We have some contradictions there, don't we?
So you're talking about the firmament.
The stars are in the
waters
firmament.
above.
The stars and the moon and the sun is in the firmament.
So do you think
It's
the sun
inside.
is not hot then? You think the sun is like giving a cold heat and it's...
The sun is not giving a cold heat. The moon gives off a cold
physically
heat.
hot, isn't it?
Cold.
We can feel
cold
the
one.
heat of the sun, can't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
So is it burning, do you think, or is it how's it passing that heat
I
through
don't
the
know.
water?
I don't know.
Convection what method of transportation is the heat transferring from the sun to us when we feel it on our face through the firmament and the water of the firmament?
I said it's inside the firmament. It's not in the firmament.
But that's all right. Okay, so it's below the water.
Yeah, it's below the waters. Exactly. Yeah.
So, Henry, would you say that in terms of how you prioritize information, would you say that you're a Bible literalist? First, is that do you take the Bible literally?
Yeah, I take some parts of the Bible literally and metaphorically and similarly. Yeah, I take the Bible as a true still word of God. Yes, I do.
Okay. But you're willing to expand the concept of that it is the word of God,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also willing to entertain that within it is allegory and metaphor and these other things that
Mm-hmm.
we as humans also
Interpretation.
operate in those dimensions. Yeah. So, but you know that within the Christian community, some people are like absolute literalists, right? And
they do.
They wouldn't be able to, or they don't allow themselves to even entertain the idea of allegory, even though, which is kind of funny because Jesus is purported as saying, I speak in parables, I speak in fable, and therefore for me, it's self-contradictory for any Christian to say that there is no parable within the Bible when Jesus says that I speak in parables. It's like, okay, that's a little mind-blowing.
Right.
Okay, so I'm interested to know that that you also think about it in terms of not just literalism, but would you say that that is in terms of subscribing to or deciding whether it's globe or flat? Are you checking it against the Bible in the sense that flat Earth seems to make more sense to you?
Can you see the chat? There's a text chat.
Sorry, Bart. Hold on.
No
The link is in the chat. It's a text box.
Well, we're connected though, so.
On the very top corner of this particular screen that I'm talking to you on, there's a little bubble window. It's a text box.
It says BB, which is me. Yeah, I'm not seeing any previous version Skype.
Aaron sounds different, doesn't he?
Okay.
Yeah, really.
Well, I hope that this Skype call doesn't interrupt the Hangout call because I'm on 2 calls at the same time.
Yeah, we have no.
The link is it's in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, when I clicked on that before though, it just keeps taking me to.
Depends on what you mean by interrupt.
Well, you might need to download something. I don't know.
Can you just mute? Maybe we should mute him. Can we mute,
I know you have, but I don't know if they upgraded or changed anything. But do you see the link that I dropped in Skype?
I think he's the only one that can mute himself.
The big G.
Hold on.
We can hear you, Aaron.
In the text chat.
How do I mute him? I'm going to ignore him, actually. You can put him on ignore. Ignore Aaron. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, there already, isn't it? Oh, let's have some proper conversation now. Not
All
some
right.
dribble all the time.
So I think what I was trying to ask is the idea of do you take the Bible as sort of an authoritative text, and when we are having batting around ideas around whether we're on a globe or whether we're on a flat plane or whether it's something else, like I'm kind of a big fan of simulation theory, that the whole thing is sort of a hologram, sort of a simulation, and it could be neither a globe nor a flat plane, that it can have these features of both things. I mean, I'll look back in with sort of my longer story around why I'm even interested in the flat Earth, the globe Earth debate, because it might not be what anybody thinks it is, or might guess it is. But I'm trying to pass this back to you, Henry, in terms of is your main authority, like you would trust if some idea would match better with the Bible than, let's say, with modern scientific the modern scientific models.
Right. I do trust in the Word of God. I even try to debunk the Word of God all these years. So the Bible describes the earth having 4 corners, right? Have you guys read that? It has 4 corners. It describes the earth has pillars. It has pillars, right?
My understanding of the 4 corners.
Hold on. Let him. I think he's doing a list of things.
Yeah, let's finish, Amy. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Bible has, so the Bible says the earth has 4 corners. The earth has edges. The earth has pillars. The earth has foundations. The earth is used as a footstool by God, and the earth is immovable. So why it's like going back to Bart's question is, why is the Bible describing the earth only one way? It never describes the earth as spinning, as moving, as in any other mainstream modern science theories. Why is that?
Well, no one can prove a negative. No one ever is going to be able to give you that answer as to why the Bible did not say.
I have an answer. My answer would be it's about literary format. So you could ask the same question about why does the Earth, why is the Earth not described as a globe in, let's say, a Charles Dickens novel, or in any number of, like, why does Plato never mention that it's a globe?
Plato
So it's we're playing with this idea of the evidence of absence is not the absence of evidence, and vice versa. So there's a stronger and weaker argument to be made there, depending on which side of that equation you're on.
Right.
That's how I would answer it. So like the idea that if it were true, it would be mentioned in the Bible. Well, I gotta say, there's so many things that are true and provable that are not mentioned in the Bible, that argument at its core does not hold water for me at all.
Okay.
No, it's a negative. I think Aaron expressed it best when he just said, "You're asking me to prove a negative. Why doesn't it? Why doesn't it include this?"
But that's why Bart is saying, how come I believe in it? That why did I reread the Bible the last 2 years with a theory of focusing on how did the Bible look through the Bible's eyes, right?
Okay, so you read it. Let me get this right. How many times have you read the Bible?
I read it before many times, but then but this last time that I reread the Bible,
you're pretty familiar with it, yeah?
I'm not. I know my Bible, but I don't know it, as well as I should.
How many times is the shape of the Earth actually mentioned? Period. During
many times.
Many.
It's said many times. Yeah.
So what? Like
I didn't deliberately say it, but it does hint, and it does give clues. That's how the Bible works.
So but it's not like there's no like 4 pages where it goes into, it is a flat open plane and the sun is rotating, hovering above it and rotating around in exact counterbalance to the moon that's also hovering it around. Does it mention anything like that? Does it give a really good description of the flat Earth and how it operates in terms of the sun and the moon?
There are some verses, yeah.
But I think that's a really good point, Dom. Is if this were a very important feature of the world that God created, I think the text would. I think it's a strong argument that the text would indeed. It would be there in a sort of robust degree of explanation. Can I ask Henry one question, which is over the last 2-3 years, did you find that flat Earth brought you back to the Bible and studying the Bible? Like what did it sort of propel you back into it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Going back, like learning about flat Earth, and then it hit me so hard. Like, I can't believe God has revealed this to me at this time. And it's like, wow, how does this? And then I go back to reading it, and I'm like, this is explaining it right here. You know what I mean? Like, these Bible verses are hitting me so hard. Like, God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. Genesis 1:6. And then same thing, like, you guys definitely know NASA lies, right? And in Genesis 1:14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. And in the book of Genesis, God said that he made the light for the day and a light for the night. Why in the world would the sun reflect off the moon, off of dirt and rocks, and reflect it 200 some thousand miles back to the earth? I never knew that the moon was made with mirrors, right? So how is that even possible? That's already been debunked, right? So that's why God said he made a light for the day and a light for the night. The moon gives off its own light. That's why a lot of people on YouTube now are doing their own experiment where they have a thermal gun.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
got to step in at that point.
I'm sorry, Henry, but no, it doesn't, because all you have to
Okay.
do is use your eyeballs and look at a waxing or waning moon. How, if the moon gives off its own light, can somebody explain to me why half of it's in shadow when it's a crescent moon?
Yes.
It gives off its own light. That is I can't explain. I don't know.
But it doesn't give off any light during the day when you see the moon during
That's
the day.
why God said there's a light during the night and a light during the day. That's why God said that.
Yeah, but it's the same moon anywhere on the planet, isn't it? Even during at night.
Why is it only one side? Exactly. Why, if the moon is a spherical ball and we could land on it, how come NASA didn't land on it? Now, how come we haven't seen the other side?
Have you ever been outside when you can see the sun in the day, in daylight, and you can see the moon as well in daylight?
Yeah. So that's a dead giveaway, right? So I know I did a video a while back. So how come when the sun and the moon is outside in the daylight without the earth in between it, how come it's not a full moon?
Because of the angles. Have you ever noticed where the sun is specifically and where the moon is specifically?
Low.
It should be a full moon every time the sun is without, because the earth casts a shadow on the moon, correct?
Sometimes.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So when the earth and the earth and the moon has no interference between the earth, it should be a full moon.
Oh no, I think there's a misunderstanding there. I don't think that the Earth ever casts a shadow on the moon. That's not why the moon.
No, that's according to science.
No, I don't think that that's true.
Yeah, it does.
We can look this up right now. Yeah.
No, it's not. No. What we're talking about is okay.
No, not every day, Bart. Not every day. We're talking about lunar eclipse and solar eclipse.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. But it has nothing to do with the waxing waning.
That has nothing to do with waxing and waning. You're correct.
Okay. I thought that's what you were trying to say.
I see where you.
But I do recognize that the Earth does, on occasion, cast a shadow on the moon.
Because that's, I think, an interesting sort of misconception that some people actually hold.
That's a good question back to Henry.
Yeah.
On the flat Earth model, with the sun and the moon hovering and circling above, how is it that the Earth casts a shadow on the moon? How does that happen?
Yeah, when you're talking about the eclipse happens.
A lunar eclipse, not a solar eclipse.
Yeah, a video does that very well. That kind of explains that. I mean, because the Earth, the sun spins slower, and the moon spins slower, and the Earth spins faster, right? So the sun catches up to the moon, and it creates that lunar or solar eclipse. Yeah.
You might have to find that video, bro.
I'll show you the video.
Because feel free to find it and screen share, because honestly, that makes no physical sense to me. What we see, it quite literally is a shadow from the Earth walk across the actual moon. And if they're both hovering above the Earth on the flat model, how the hell does that happen?
Yeah,
I'm
looking for it.
I mean, okay. I mean, if you can't answer, if you want to pull up the video, that's fine. I understand there are things that I can't explain. I would rather refer to people who are experienced surveyors. I'm going to pull up some videos here in a few minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, I understand if you want to refer to somebody who maybe knows more or can explain better or has a better model, that's fine. But honestly, it's, I mean, first of all, if the moon itself, and I've heard Richie from Boston say this, that the moon is self-luminating. Okay. First of all, two things I want to say.
Boston.
I haven't done the experiment yet, but I do own a heat gun. Okay. I've got one of those infrared handheld heat guns. They're cheap. You can have one for a couple bucks at Harbor Freight. Okay. I've got one. And I've heard people say that the moon puts out cold light, and it's colder when the moonlight than it is in the shadow. And I'm going to make a video. I'm going to use my heat gun. I'm going to prove that wrong, because I think it's bunk. I think someone's lying. But anyway, the moon, if it's self-illuminating, how do we have a crescent moon? How is it we can see a moon that's only partially illuminated on one edge? That's a complete.
Yep, you're right. And I just read the Bible verse for you.
So you think it's CGI? Honestly, you think that's CGI, Henry? I mean, literally, like. You think the firmament is like a big projector screen, or I mean, is that what you know?
Well,
People,
I thought Bart was sort of leaning towards that theory, the so-called matrix, everything's a projection or a computer program theory. Bart, were you sort of angling?
Walked away. Bart just walked away, but you can ask him that when he comes back. I'm going to let Bart explain, but Bart is under the impression that there's some sort of hypersphere thing going on. I'll just let him explain that. But honestly, Henry, when you see a crescent moon, if the moon is self-illuminating, how is it even possible that any part of it's in shadow?
Yeah, you're right. And like I said, that right there is according to the Bible, that God gave the moon and the sun for signs in the season and days and years. So he's created those shades.
The sun,
is that the same as in King James version, or?
Yeah, that's a King James version. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Two things I want to say on that.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the signs in the seasons refer to, in my opinion, and many opinion, the signs in the season refer to using the stars as a calendar, so that primitive.
Well, no, I think it's more literal than that. Signs and season. Well, the leaves are starting to drop, so there's a sign of the seasons are changing.
That's right. This is all about harvest, when to plant your crops. This is all about survival. Yeah. This is about survival, feeding your family, planting your crops, harvesting your crops.
Yep,
I agree.
That's your signs and seasons.
And
look, if and I don't want to please understand, I've got a great deal of respect for Henry, and I don't want to offend anyone in the religious community. I'm not here to offend, not here to be an asshole. But if you're going to keep going back to God did it, then this conversation needs to probably end real soon, because there's no way around God did it.
Yeah, I agree. I have been in those shoes too, where I said, "Nah, God can't prove this. Let me go about my own way and prove this." But we're gonna have a hard time failing, is what happens. So, well, yeah, keep going. It's fine.
I just
no offense taken.
I love you, Henry. I really do, man.
Sure, man.
I believe you to be a truly honorable man, and you're a good friend, and I do like you. And last thing I want to do is offend you or anyone in the religious community. That's not what this conversation is about.
Yeah, for sure. No worries.
So now that Bart is back, Amy has something to say, and then Dominic wants to ask Bart his position.
By this point, I'm sorry.
Okay, so now that Bart is back, Bart, you were talking about a hypersphere, and Dominic is curious as to your position on the shape or whatever your position is. So I didn't want to speak for you. I'll let you explain your position on what you think.
No. I was just meaning it more in terms of that. When Henry said about the moon or it possibly being a projection or something, and I said, well, I thought that tied in with more with, like, you know, what Bart was thinking about, and other people that think that it, you know, that our whole reality is in some way a projection or a matrix-like program.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And to answer that question directly, just as a mental exercise, I think that that's a valuable thought process to take oneself through. Could it be nothing? Could it be neither one? And if it's neither one, what could it be? And how much explanatory power does that actually have? That's sort of my point in that, because, you know, ostensibly in a simulation, then all rules are out the window, and it could be anything. It's like, I think there's a
simulation of what, though? What, a simulation of another reality?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I find that such a
it can be argued that that's a cop-out, right? In the sense of, well, we don't have to deal with reality then. We just assume it's all a simulation, and therefore it doesn't matter what anybody thinks, and there is no science, and there is no God, and there is no anything, and it's a slippery slope down to complete nihilism. So
I think the bottom line is, I think it's some sort of knee-jerk response to the simple basic fact that it is, whatever it is so fucking complicated that we don't understand it yet, or we're not even close to understanding it yet. So we have to we can throw out any old wild speculation because we just don't know, do we? Because every time our equipment and our measuring equipment gets better, we find more complexity. We find that cells have more moving parts than we thought they had before, and there's more, and there's more. And you know, before the microscope, we didn't even know about bacteria, did we? That there's life all over this planet. The most prevalent form of life on this planet, we can't even see it.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started on the most prevalent life on the planet. It's not bacteria; it's fungi.
Oh yeah, well, but some people won't accept that as a life form as such.
Nobody doesn't accept it as a life form. No, you're thinking of viruses. There's a debate within
bacteria, which is there's more bacterial cells in you than there are human cells. There are more bacterial cells in every human than there are human cells.
That is correct.
Bacteria are the most prevalent life form on this planet. Just look at those huge, great swathes that they have in the oceans. I can't remember what sort of plankton it is now, but
krill,
something like that. Huge, great
krill.
Yeah, something like that.
Algae, krill.
Algae, yeah. It's a form of bacteria, isn't it?
Is it a form of bacteria or is that a plant? Is algae a plant? Anyway, but
algae's a plant.
Well, however you want to talk about this, at the end of the day, we are humans speaking words, and those words point to real phenomena. The word is not the thing itself, right? Like Terence McKenna says, the map is not the territory. The word is not the thing itself. So I just think that that's just really important thing to keep in mind whenever we're doing philosophy or science or just having everyday discussions, actually. But it's also this very, very easy thing to forget. We get wrapped up in words. Words are magical. They're magical spells. Spelling. But that's a whole other topic. I don't want to go off on a typical Bart tangent with that. But I wanted to stepped away just so that I could clear my mind and think about how I could present how I see the whole globe versus flat Earth debate phenomenon and why it's happening now. And here's what I'm thinking is that Big Bang Theory is bunk. It's Big Bang Theory based on redshift, Doppler effect, and this idea that it's expanding. I think if you look to the electric universe guys and a physicist named Halton Arp, he pretty much demonstrates that that you have, I think it's a quasar next to another body, maybe like a galaxy next to a quasar, where you can actually see that they're right next to each other, except one is radically redshifted, the other one isn't. If the redshift were the determining factor indicating a Big Bang, therefore a way to calculate the age of the universe, to tie that to an expanding universe coming from the Big Bang and always moving away from us. This is like the nail in the coffin of that particular theory. So that's one worth exploring because it kind of blows it out of the water. The other thing that I'm looking at is how Einsteinian physics is a fraud perpetrated on basically all of people, but especially on the smartest of people who get trained in Einsteinian physics, and they get what gets squirreled away is ether-based physics. So if you look at a guy like Tesla, or you look at any number of other physicists who took ether-based physics very seriously.
But didn't Einstein take ether-based physics very seriously for a long time?
There's, you know,
thing at the time.
Not really. He did a game where he ended up renaming it the cosmological constant, and he shifted it in such a way that he stole it away from people who are doing much better modeling in physics. You know, I'm not the only one that says this. You know, in order for a lie to be successful, you know, it's got to be like 80-90% true, and then you tweak the 20-10%. And a really good and a really good lie is like 99% true, and then 1% tweaked, but tweaked enough to just blow the whole thing apart. You know. Or really skew the whole thing. The other element that I think is in play here is the whole NASA factor, where I think that above low Earth orbit travel and exploration is not within our capabilities. And yet, you know, the moon landing says it is, right? So it was this this big overreach, right? And then what that does is, okay, if you buy that, then you believe everything that would be closer to Earth about it. So I mean, for me, the jury is still out whether satellites are actually up there or not. I ran into a guy who had a pretty good theory explaining that they are actually balloons. It's a pretty extensive balloon project. That one I'm not willing to take a stand on one way or another. But in my like exploration of NASA fakery and space fakery. Oh, I mean, have you guys seen any of the footage of was it the Russians going up into space and doing spacewalks? I mean, they were so fake. They were so fake.
Yeah.
You know? And so you look at that and you go, oh, that's fake. And then you look at something like I think the early Mercury flights and the spacewalks, right? And you know, when I started unpacking all of this, I knew that I was fairly convinced or very convinced that the moon landings were fake. But I still thought that they did the spacewalks and orbiting around and all of that.
Yeah, but then, hold on, back up. This is where we need to get we know that NASA are based in the occult. We know that they were set up by Jack Parsons, and he was a big occultist.
Yes, he was.
That was JPL.
Yeah, exactly.
NASA wasn't set up by Jack Parsons, but okay. Yeah.
Well, no,
yeah,
but he was heavily involved with it, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
So, with an operation like that, let's assume that everything they show us is not real. Let's just assume that for the moment. And now we ask ourselves, well, why would that be? Well, there's one reason that springs to mind is because they can't do it, so they're just faking it. But the other reason
can I
wait, I just need to finish this off. The other reason they could be doing it is because if they did show us what was really up there, and I believe low Earth orbit is very real, and if they did show us what was up there, it would be they would have to show us, I don't know, possibly other things flying around that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. What I want to go into is the possibility. Now, I don't know. I don't know if anybody is familiar with what Michael Tsarian says, but at least at one point he was saying that way back in the mega past, there were some bad ETs that were being chased by good ETs, and the bad ETs arrived at the solar system, set up a decoy on Tiamat.
Does he read a lot of science fiction?
I don't know, but at any rate, that's not the point. the story goes like this: that they put up a decoy on Tiamat and then hunkered down on Earth. And the good guys showed up, scanned, saw the decoy on Tiamat, saw there were no advanced life forms on the planet, blew it up, and thus we have the asteroid belt. And then they thought, well, let's just take a look around and make sure. They looked at Earth and went, wait a minute, there's something there, but look, we've got these advanced life forms, we can't blow them up. So we're going to put a barrier around the planet, and make this literally a prison planet. Now, I agree that it sounds like science fiction and all of that.
It sounds like Michael Tsarian's trying to flog a book.
But be that as it may, I got to thinking about that concept. And then I heard information that people that were flying the Vimanas spoke of a barrier beyond which they could not pass. Now, they never spoke of a flat planet.
Well,
they seemed to think we were on a globe, but that there was a barrier way up there. And I'm thinking, what if ET put a barrier around our globe above low Earth orbit, so we can get up to low Earth orbit, but we can't go any further? And
when you say we, do you mean us as in organic beings can't go any further? Because that's kind of that's where I'm at now. I don't think
conceivably it's just the organic beings and that we can send machinery through. I don't know. All I know is that it's spoken of that they run into a barrier up there in the Vedas, that there's a lot of talk about the time when there was no moon, and that some say the moon was put there as sort of a prison guard sort of a thing, which would explain things like the Watchers, and so on and so forth on that level.
Let me jump in. There are multiple cultures on this planet that speak of a time before the moon. I have spoken on the show about a civilization known as the Pelasgians, who are known by the ancient Greeks as the people who lived before the moon. The Zulus of Africa speak of themselves being here and witnessing the moon being put into place.
Yep.
So that's not, crazy talk. That's, that's in our history.
Exactly. So I'm sitting here thinking,
I see Bart looked like he was taking notes regarding the Vimanas not being able to traverse past a certain point. We should consult Bart, because if I'm not mistaken, his wife is currently reading the Vedic text. Is that correct, Bart?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although she's not into the woo-woo stuff quite yet, like the Vimanas and all that. It's more of a pragmatic, straight study on her part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, so anyway, I'm sitting here thinking, what if the reason that we are getting crap out of NASA has everything to do with the fact that this is literally a prison planet, and they don't want us to know that. So everything above the low Earth orbit point is faked. It's conceivable.
Yeah. Okay. Can I jump in here with that?
Sure.
So has anybody come across this phenomenon called sonoluminescence? It's a star in a jar.
Yep.
I find that to be fascinating. Oh, okay. This kind of loops back into the Big Bang Theory. So if the Big Bang Theory isn't correct, then a lot of the way that we've modeled, or it's been modeled in the standard model, the idea that that these stars and galaxies are millions of light years away, and then trillions of light years away, and that's all based on the assumption that we actually understand light and the speed of light. Although I'm pretty sure there have been some experiments where they were able to slow the speed of light down to like literally a crawl.
I know what happened. Look, this is what happened in about 1973. They kept measuring the speed of light, and it kept changing. It was variable. The speed of light was changing. So what the Royal Society of Freemasonic Tossers in London did, that was in charge of such things, they went, right, from now on, we are saying that the speed of light is da 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 da, and it is fixed.
Right.
So they made the speed of light a law when it isn't at all. It does vary of its own accord.
Anybody who sticks a stick in water, if you're at the river or if you're at the lake and you take a pole or a stick and you poke it down below the surface of the water, you can see that the angle from your vantage point, your viewpoint, the stick changes direction. So what we call that refraction. Absolutely, light changes speed. It has to go through a medium. When it goes through the atmosphere, it gets slowed down. When it goes through water, it goes slower. When it goes through a glass lens, that's how lenses work. That's why we have magnifying glasses, because it slows down portions of the light. That's why when you wear eyeglasses, they're thicker on the outside. Go ahead.
One of the reasons why I brought that up is because they had to do that because of E equals mc, which is the speed of light squared. They need it to be a variable, because if it was continually changing, it makes that equation kind of mute, doesn't it? Outdated, outmoded.
Just to correct you, not a variable. It is a variable, as it turns out. What I think what you meant to say was a constant. So
a constant. A constant.
Yeah. So the speed of light is not a constant, and if it can go from its maximum of what is it, 186,000 miles per second, all the way down to, let's say, 1 mile per second, or okay, so you're talking about a really huge.
Either way, it's incredibly fast.
Yeah. You have a huge. No, but I'm saying that is super fast. But the bottom limit of that is super slow, and therefore you got everything in between. And
1,000 miles a second is not super slow by what I mean. What are you gauging super slow? 1,000 miles in a second. So that would cover 1,000 miles that time. In 3 seconds, 3,000 miles. That's not slow, is it? 3,000 miles in 3 seconds.
Relative to 186,000 miles per second.
Oh yeah, relative to its own fastness.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If the nature of light has a range of a speed of travel or rate of travel that can range from in its top limit, 186,000 miles per second, all the way down to a crawl, then that means the speed of light can be traveling any speed within that range, and it's a huge range. Therefore, the entire model, and this is just back to the idea of what I think they're sort of distracting us from with the whole flat Earth, globe Earth debate is sort of to keep us over here arguing this when the really big deal is the entire model of what's outside of what outer space is might be so wrong, so off, and so different than what we've been told. I think that might be the really big lie. And I wanted to just reiterate this for Henry's sake and sort of tie this into a biblical idea, which is, at the beginning of creation, there was the Word. And Word relates to the idea of sound.
Right.
And so I would say look into this sonoluminescence thing, because this is basically inside of water. I think they suspend the word is escaping me now, glycerin, and then they bombard this with certain sound frequencies, and the thing ends up expanding and collapsing super quickly, and glows like a star. So what I've been looking into is this idea of maybe all of space is not a vacuum, and I'll tell you why I think a vacuum doesn't make sense, or what we call a vacuum, right? It's that if there was a vacuum out there, and there was an Earth that was a planet, what is the force that is stopping the Earth from expanding out into the vacuum? Like matter wants to fill a vacuum.
Yeah.
So
Gravity.
So what's keep? Yeah, but gravity's super weak, right? Oh, that's the other thing. That's the other Einsteinian, Newtonian sort of hangover.
Comparatively
which
weak.
is which is this idea that
Well,
everything
It's only comparatively weak or relatively weak. I mean,
I know. I'm just saying all of this needs to be reassessed because it may have had enough explanatory power at the time. And I think that we've actually had enough paradigm shifts within science, and enough, especially stuff like real experiments that you can do like with plasma physics, right? That thing's a game changer, right? Because the whole gravitational model it ignores all of electricity. It pretends that electricity does not exist in the universe. That's sort of my understanding.
I'm definitely a supporter of the electric model of the universe, but I'm going to say that gravity is still a force in there. And I'm also going to suggest that as a proponent of Paul Laviolette's subquantum kinetics, the electrons or the negative particles all have negative gravity, and it's really quite strong, but it's balanced out by all the positive particles with positive gravity. And since the electron's negative gravity is just a teeny fraction less than the proton's positive gravity, you wind up with a net seemingly weak force of gravity that only really can be effectively demonstrated at very large scales of lots and lots and lots of matter, like a planet. But yeah, there are electrical elements involved as well, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you guys say gravity, right? So I mean, has anyone proven gravity?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Who?
No.
Yes.
Who?
Yes.
No, okay, wait. Depends on what.
I can prove gravity. Now, what I can't prove is how it works.
That's exactly right.
Hold on. It depends on what you mean by gravity. I'll throw this out there. I'll throw out a question. Is gravity indeed a force, or is it an effect?
Both.
Why would it not? Why would it have to be separate?
Yeah.
Because what I think is happening is that gravity is actually a sub-effect of electromagnetism.
But would it not also equal a force of some kind, regardless, even though it's an effect?
Not necessarily. I think that this is where a sort of magical objectification of.
Well, that's going back to the God thing. If you're going to say God did it, then the conversation. We can't
it's
around
just
God did it.
It's just
no, not at all. That's not where I was going.
If you want to throw out words like magic, then the conversation's over. This isn't.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Magic. Yeah, I was.
It's the same argument. It's the same argument. If you're going to say magic, you may as well just.
Don't know.
No, you're misunderstanding my point, but that's okay.
No. Then Bart, you have the floor. Clarify.
What I meant by that is linguistic magic, not material magic. I'm talking about it's a issue of linguistic magic where, okay, so like I often use this example. I'm gonna go outside now and go for a run, right? So I just said that to you. You know what I mean, right? But does that actually logically make sense in any way? Like, show me a run. Take a run and put it on a table. You can't it's running is a verb. It's an action thing. It's a doing thing, right? This is where I think we run up against the limits of language and how it works.
You're just talking semantics because you used this
sort of
pejorative. You said go for a run. Going for something like a run. If I'm going to go for a run or I'm going to go for a sandwich, those are two different things. A sandwich is a tangible object. A run is an adjective. It's a verb.
No, a run. See, that's sort of my point. A run has become a noun, right? You take that which is naturally a verb, something that humans can do, right? And you magically, linguistically transform it into an object, and you can do all kinds of crazy shit when you transform a verb into a noun, and then you operate with it as if it were a noun. And that would be my point around gravity. The
language
language
changes, doesn't it, all the time?
Yeah, of course it changes.
Hang on, Dominic, please. Hang on.
Oh man, now I got distracted. That's okay.
So we're going to transform a verb into a noun. We're going to go for a run.
Yeah. So gravity really should be called graviting or gravitation, right? Because it's not a thing. It's so it's sort of mislabeled, and by mislabeling it, it does this thing in your mind where you start treating it like an object and not as an activity. Yeah,
well, we're not. Well, nobody's talking about gravity as an object.
Yeah, well, I would argue that it's this thing within the English language is so ingrained, and I think it's within a lot of Western languages, this phenomenon. Whereas I think if you look at other languages, they end up not making this mistake of conflating nouns and verbs. It could be a subject to expand on another time.
I got a question here, you guys. So what is the deepest man has ever dug into Earth?
As far as I understand, 8 miles.
Exactly.
Russians.
8 miles. So why are we here talking about something in the middle of the Earth, some sort of physical, electrical, whatever it is? How come we're talking about it like we know it?
Because we can measure it.
That's blind faith. We have never been there.
We can measure it.
Well, not only we have scales that can measure the force of gravity, but we have electrical and magnetic equipment that can measure not only the electricity, but the magnetism of the Earth.
Exactly, you're measuring electricity.
And the magnetism. We can measure the magnetism of the Earth.
Yes, we can.
I mean, that's no secret.
So we've never been there or seen it.
What, the center or the bottom?
Yeah, whatever it is, we have never been there or seen it, right?
Yeah, but we've got ground penetrating radar systems. We've got ground.
That's still not proof.
Sure.
We could have all kinds of equipment to say like, oh yeah, I zoomed into Jupiter and I've seen the flames or the gases are flying or flowing, but that's someone's equipment.
And so your point is that
means we never seen what gravity is.
Have you seen bacteria?
Wait.
Bacteria.
Wait. We have absolutely seen gravity. I mean, come on, Henry.
We gotta prove it.
No.
I'll prove it. I'll take a pencil and let go.
That's not gravity.
Oh.
How come gravity can hold thousands and thousands of pounds of water and yet let something really light just fly away? How is that gravity?
Because that is buoyancy, and gravity.
Well, wait.
Hold on. Let me finish. Gravity is what defines the direction things buoy in. When you get into a 0G situation, things do not buoy.
That's right. Buoyancy stops existing when you're in a 0G, and that's
right.
And that can be proven on the vomit comet, known as that airplane.
Okay, check this out. So I'm glad you brought that 0G, right? So you putting yourself into a G. So how much is 0G when you get into the G
It's
into like a plane or something? It's
Zero.
different, right? 0G, right? So how come
Yeah.
it's going less than 1,000 miles an hour, right? How come people that weigh themselves at the equator and people when they reweigh themselves, like say, well, I went to Alaska, I weighed the same. How come that gravitational pull? How come that spin? How come that spin? How come that spin is not? How come that spin at the equator or wherever I'm at, and I go to somewhere that's spinning that? Okay,
you're not on an accurate enough scale. There are places on Earth that whatever weight, it could be a solid steel object or yourself or whatever, they're going to weigh different.
We're spinning counterclockwise, right? So we spin faster at the equator.
It depends on which way you're looking at. If you're looking from the North Pole, we go one direction. If you're looking from the South Pole,
Henry is talking about the inertia when you're spinning at 1,000 miles at the equator.
Yes.
You're talking about the inertia should affect your gravity, should affect your weight.
It has to at 1,000 miles an hour. It has to affect it.
And,
no, because the object's too small, isn't it? The size of the Earth, isn't it?
Look, go on a ride. Go to the fair.
The inertia relative to the gravity is so negligible because we're spinning at rotating at 1 revolution per 24 hours. It's really, 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 really slow.
Yeah, I think this 1,000 mile per hour mantra is a bit of a red herring inserted into the flat Earth model, because it's if you take a basketball and spin that around once over 24 hours, you're barely going to see the thing move.
How much inertia are you going to get?
Yeah, there's hardly any, right?
You're talking about a small object,
a small object.
And you're not spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. You're spinning at
24
hours around the clock.
Henry, if you in this instance, if you scale that basketball up to the size of the Earth, you'll get even less inertia.
No, you won't.
Yes, you will.
That's the thing. Let's simplify. Let's simplify it again, though, right? Let's put an ant on that basketball, right? And it's spinning once every 24 hours. That ant will not fly off of that basketball at that rate. Now, if you spin it really fast, it'll fly off. It would be interesting to look at.
I think you guys are trying to move away from the 1,000 spinning ball Earth. Okay, so we're orbiting, right?
Henry's making a fairly valid point.
How come if we're constantly spinning, right? How come there are windy days, and how come there's certain days with no wind? Please explain.
That has to do with the fact that the air moves along with us, but there are Coriolis effects that cause certain ripples and swirls in the air.
Amy, no.
No, how about this one? How about this one, Henry? How about this one for you?
Hang on. Wait. No. Henry asked a question. We need to answer the question. We're not going to just jump around.
No. Listen, Aaron. He didn't actually ask a question, did he? He wanted to prove a negative. So I'm going to reverse it because I've come across this before. Listen, we've come across this before with flat earthers. Now I want to ask you, on a flat and stationary plane, what would cause any weather at all?
Sun and moon, the atmosphere.
And why would it not do the same?
It is not caused by us spinning.
The sun and the moon would cause tornadoes. So the next question, how?
Well, I mean, because of the heat that causes the
why would it not do the same on a round Earth?
Yeah, why would it be any different?
All right,
I don't know, because it wouldn't.
I think
there is no explanation. Okay, can you answer that, Bart?
Yeah, well, I think I have a model that I actually think I can answer it. All right, so imagine, let's go back to our basketball, and let's imagine that we can actually get the thing coated with a layer of water. And let's say that
By the way, someone has done that experiment on a basketball size. The amount of water that you would need to represent all the oceans and all the rivers and every bit of water on this planet would be a few drops on the scale of a basketball. A few drops.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say we have a layer of water on it, and then above that layer of water we have gases, and they're somehow trapped there. Now, if let's say we use some color, what do you call it? Color dye, food coloring, like food coloring. You know, we sprinkled that in throughout. We got it actually as like a water vapor up in the atmosphere part, and also in the water part, and then we introduced. And I'm trying to make this like really stripped down, really simple, and then maybe introduced a couple like metallic flakes, some metallic dust into the thing, right? Just so you have some things that are going to respond differently to heat, right? And then you put a light source here up to the side, and you get this thing to spin slowly, you know, once every 24 hours. That heat interacting with those. With the food coloring, with the various particles, they're going to vibrate and bounce off of each other, and eventually, you know, chaos theory, complexity theory will tell you that they're going to make things like eddies and whirlpools and ripples, and it may end up looking something like you know, images of Jupiter, right? But the important part is, you know, keep that thing spinning. Spin it, you know, record it and spin it over, let's say several, you know, over a month. And I think that you'll find all sorts of patterns will emerge. And those patterns represent the weather.
If you could examine that basketball in your thought experiment on a very small scale, if you could look very closely at the very thin layer of water, even though the water layer might be thin, you would still see microcurrents because of heat differentials, which was what we call wind.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why it would be different. Why wind would be different?
Right.
There's no reason.
I think it's important to point out this idea of fluid dynamics, right? So when the average person hears the term fluid dynamics, they automatically think of liquids primarily, and that's correct. Fluid dynamics handles.
Yeah, but atmosphere works the same.
But gases also are.
They work identically.
Are subject, not identical. I think there's differences between the way gases and liquids behave. But this just popped into my mind. A really good example of this is the movie CONHWC. Has anybody seen that?
No.
It shows it's an ancient Hopi word that means life out of balance. It's a movie that came out in like 87. CONHWC. I may be. CONHWC. I always, it's one of those words I always say wrong. Yeah, you're breaking up, so.
Yeah, that didn't help, Annie.
Yeah, it was even worse than what I said.
CONHWC, did that work?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, got it.
And it shows time-lapse photography of clouds in motion, and then waterfalls in motion, and foam created from the waterfalls, and it sort of shows how at different scales and at different rates you see the same patterns, you see similar patterns, you see similar behaviors. It's a good meditation. CONHWC.
Come on, Mr. Eastern European Heritage.
It's a Hopi word. Hopi.
Guys, I've got to dash out. It's 2 a.m. It's bedtime, sleep time.
Thank you so much for being with us, Tom.
Thanks,
Much
Tom.
love.
No problems. Nice
Yeah,
chatting.
Dominic, nice talking, man.
Till next time.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah. Koyaanisqatsi. Scatsi?
It's hard.
Koyaanisqatsi. It is, yes.
Anascotzi.
Scott's model had a
Koyaanisqatsi.
scotch.
Anyway, it's a really good movie, and then there's a follow-up one, and I think that they've recently released part 4. So it's a quadrilogy.
Be good, Dom. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, adios. Take it easy, guys. Ciao for now.
Ciao, buddy.
Night.
Bye.
All right, well, there it is. Dominic lives in the UK, so it is 2 a.m. for him right now, and we're always glad to have him. He's a pleasure. So, Henry, have you considered the motion of the southern stars?
Motions of the southern stars, yeah. I've dug into a little bit, but not too much. So, yeah.
Anyone in the southern hemisphere, which would be on the flat Earth model, you would be outside of the equator. Okay.
Okay.
So we're talking Australia, New Zealand, some
On
of
the
South
globe,
America,
South America.
some of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of
Yeah.
Africa.
On the globe, you're south of the equator, and on the flat Earth, you're outside the equator. Okay. Anyone in the southern hemisphere,
Antarctica.
and I'll use the word or the terminology southern hemisphere just because of my position, and you can, interpret that any way you want. On the flat Earth, it's outside the equator. Anyone outside that boundary or below on the globe, when you look south at the stars, there is a rotation that is equal to the northern stars. Now, in the north, we have Polaris, which is what we call the North Star, and it's always in position, okay? But in the south, there's no particular star that is located in such a place that it's stationary like Polaris. However, there is still a rotation. There's still a rotation.
Right.
How does the flat Earth explain this rotation that is observed all the way around the world, from the southern Africa to South America to Australia? Anybody in these locations, when they all look south on the flat Earth model, they're looking in opposite directions. They're looking in different directions, and yet they all see the same stars in rotation.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like you're standing in a room, right? And you look up and say you have like a picture on the ceiling, right? So if you stand on this side where we stand and we look up at the picture, we're going to see it probably right side up.
When you say when you say picture, you say P-I-C-T?
Yeah, picture, like a picture on the ceiling.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the same thing. So when the other people,
planetarium, like a big dome ceiling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That just explains it. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, so if they sit underneath the equator, they're gonna look at that picture upside down. That's just it.
But they're different stars.
But they're not looking at it upside down. They're looking at the opposite direction. They're looking south.
Oh, they're looking south.
Yeah, they're looking south, not north.
Well, then it's just I don't know. It's orbiting.
When they look
stars
south,
are moving.
Look, somebody standing in Australia and someone standing in South America on the flat Earth model, they're like 90 degrees away from each other. And someone in Africa, which is another, I'll say 35. Well, let's just say 33 degrees.
Sounds like a good
because
number.
there's three main locations south. There's South America, Africa, and Australia. 3 main locations. So just for fun, we'll say they're 33 degrees apart, because after all, I am a Zionist shill Freemason, and you can all fuck off. So look, there are 3 locations on Earth on the flat Earth model. They're looking in 3 completely different directions, south, facing south, and yet they see the southern stars rotating, the same stars.
Yeah, you're just looking south
at the same time of day or night.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And they're seeing the stars.
They rotate around the central point.
Yeah.
Irrespective of where you are in the southern hemisphere / outside the equator, they are all, the center of rotation is always due south. Always.
There's a
It
central
doesn't
point
matter. And
of rotation.
I might point out that that center of rotation, albeit there's no really bright star there, that center of rotation when you're at the equator is at the horizon. And as you move south, that center of rotation moves up, just like when you move north, Polaris moves up and you can calculate your latitude based on the number of degrees above the horizon that center rotation is. So if you are south and calculate that center of rotation at 30 degrees above the horizon, then you're at the 30 degree latitude south. Same with Polaris. If it's 30 degrees above the horizon, you're at 30 degrees north. Anyway, yes,
Yeah.
just thought I'd mention that.
So, Henry,
Yeah.
I've looked into the flat Earth explanation for the question that we just put forward, which is the Southern Star rotation.
Yeah.
The only explanation that I've seen so far, there are a couple of people out there that they create these little, little models on their table, and they put a glass dome over top of it, and one guy's got a mirror that he leans against the table, and he says, "Look," and Jeranism has got a thing that where he takes a like a magnifying glass and he puts it on a map or something, and he says, "See how on the edge where it sort of turns and goes a different direction." But the problem I have is, first of all, that on those examples, and there are videos for anybody who's curious, go look. Those examples, first of all, in Jeranism's video, the stars are severely distorted. And nobody has observed that. No human being, no amateur astronomer has ever observed any sort of wild distortion, that the stars started here and went in a big circle and came back and whipped around the wrong direction. And then, and that also does not explain that the same sets of stars, the very same sets, are seen and observed from all three different locations in the southern hemisphere: Africa, South America, Australia, those locations.
Yeah, that I need to look into more. So definitely, yeah, I'll take that into consideration. I don't know. I mean, I have to be in Africa. I have to be in somewhere else to actually view it. I don't know if people have done it on YouTube or not, but I'll check it out. Yeah. Yeah, but that still doesn't explain why does the stars orbiting, spinning, doing all the kinds of stuff, going through space at different types of speed, and they all are still the same, in the same pattern.
Can I answer that? Okay, first and foremost, you've got to understand that the stars that we see, for the most part, almost entirely, are in our neck of the galaxy, which means they're moving along more or less the same speed we are.
That's right.
Second of all,
really?
Oh yes.
All the stars, all of them.
All the stars we can see.
Orbiting and spinning and all. Okay.
Well, I mean,
moving along pretty much
Henry,
with us.
I know that you know the standard model. I know that you're familiar with the standard model. The standard model of the galaxy, our location and all the stars around us are in fact all moving around the center of the galaxy, which they call the black hole. So yeah, virtually everything you see in the night sky, almost everything you see.
Okay.
All of the close
is local.
At least the close stars, the bright ones.
Yep.
They're all local and they're all moving, and we are all moving, us and the local stars that you can see, we're all pretty well moving in the same direction at relatively the same speed.
And And the scale of things makes it take eons for any difference between speeds to be readily seen by a human being.
Let me go back. Let me go back to this firmament idea. You're suggesting that there's a physical, solid object, a thing known as the firmament, which is the projection. Basically, you're talking about a projection screen, right? Because that's where the stars. That's what we see, right?
Not really a projection, but.
Well, I mean, do you understand? Do you have an explanation for that?
Yeah, the waters above.
Well, what about the stars? Now, what about the stars? What I want to know, how is it?
Lights.
What?
And then the sun. So I believe in a firmament because because they lied to us about the sun. The sun is not 93 million miles away, correct?
No,
the sun is closer.
No, don't ask me that correct because I don't subscribe to that notion. But go ahead.
So science or NASA, right, gives us a 93 million miles away sun. But yet I drive from California all the way to Florida, wherever I'm going in southern states, and I take a picture of the sun and it gives off rays, sun rays, right? If you have a 93 million miles away sun, the light should come all together, right? It doesn't, but when you see a sunrise, a sunset, a sun going through the clouds, it cascades a light like a triangle, right?
That's an effect of optics because you have an object that, irrespective of how far away it is and how the direction of the light is traveling, when it hits the air and is small enough in relative to our viewpoint, it will seem to spread out. Okay?
Are you saying just air? Air does that.
Well, yes, air does do that. It's well established.
So how does it bend?
Light bends through the atmosphere. It's called refraction. It's just like when you poke
I believe in refraction.
When you poke your fishing pole into the water, it bends, and that's refraction. It does the same thing through air.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
So actually, the truth is, when you look up in the sky and you see the sun, it's actually not where you think it is because of refraction. It's actually not there. It's off on a different angle.
If you guys look up dog cam, and you're gonna see like this balloon that goes up there, and it's at almost 100 and some thousand miles in the air, feet in the air, and it gives off a sunspot on the Earth. How is that possible? If you talk about inertia, I mean not inertia, you're talking about refraction. That it's causing a sunspot if it's supposedly
the quote unquote hot spot.
Yeah, like the sunspot on the Earth.
Well, Henry, do you still have your globe near you? Because I do.
Yeah.
Mine's on the table.
Yep.
Okay, well, I've got a light hanging from. I'm in my dining room, and I've got a light hanging from the ceiling, and I'm looking at my globe, and you know what I see? I see a freaking hot spot.
Yeah, because it's closer.
No, not because it's closer.
Yeah, it is.
The angle. When I move my eyeballs, I leave the light. It hangs from the ceiling. I can't move its location, and I don't touch the globe. All I am doing is moving my head. And when I look at my globe from different angles, the hot spot moves. Why? Because that's the angle of reflection. It's round. You're going to see whatever angle between you and the light. Equal and opposite reflection angle. Just like a mirror. The only difference is it's a bent mirror.
Okay.
Somebody in the chat just directed a statement to me. Rufus Cat. Brachus. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to butcher this name. Brachus. You guys see this? I'm screen sharing the chat because I've had a lot of requests. People wanted me to preserve the chat. So I'm screen sharing the chat. Brachistochrome. Brachistochrome, thank you. Has great videos about why light takes curved path through varying media. Proof that light bends. Okay, well, thanks for that. And anybody who's curious and wants answers, go over to that channel, and I guess he's got some cool videos. Thank you for that, Dr. Strange Scientist. Appreciate it. But I mean, honestly, Henry, look, when you look into a mirror, you can measure the angle of reflection. If you had a slingshot and you were shooting round, you know, BBs or marbles at a flat surface, it's just like on a pool table. Anybody who's played pool understands that when the ball hits the wall, the sidewall, it's going to bounce on the exact angle that it struck the wall in the first place. Same with light.
Yep. So that's why in the dog cam, it does not reflect towards you. That's why in the dog cam, it doesn't reflect towards you. It actually just reflects on itself. That's why, like, if you move your head on the ball,
reflect toward you. Some portion is always on a round object, like my globe on my table right now. I'm looking at.
Look. Okay.
No, go ahead. Say it. What?
Here. Let's go ahead and watch the video. How come this is not reflecting towards them?
Okay, I'll stop. I'm screen sharing right now, and I will stop, and you can share whatever you want. I'm happy to accommodate. Give me 2 seconds.
Hold on.
It's all yours, brother.
Hold on 1 second. It's coming up here.
While we're waiting, I would like to know how the sun illuminates the bottoms of clouds. If the sun is hovering above the flat earth, circling around, how is it that every morning and every evening during sunset and sunrise, how is it that I see the bottoms of clouds become illuminated? How does that happen?
Yeah, that makes no sense because it's clearly above the clouds during the day, you know, when it's up overhead.
And I don't want to jump around. I want to try to stay focused, but I got another question that's a separate topic. Why has Flat Earth Society, which is over 100 or 200 years old, this group of Flat Earth people, so the Flat Earth Society is literally, it's over 100 years old. How come they haven't been able to predict things like eclipses? They have no model that can predict when we're going to see eclipses.
Yeah, I don't fall into the Flat Earth Society people because those guys are just way out of it. So I don't follow them. They say that gravity is because the Earth is rising X amount of feet. That's what causes gravity. So yeah, I really don't follow Flat Earth Society.
But isn't that curious though, Henry? The Flat Earth Society, you just said they're way out there. How come the Flat Earth
control
community?
Opposition.
How come the Flat Earth?
It's called control opposition.
I mean, look, it should be easily provable. So far, amateur astronomers, amateur surveyors. I wish Wolfie was here. I wish Jesse was here because these are professional surveyors with professional equipment who use their stuff that of extremely high precision. And I'm going to do a screen share before the show is over, and I need to do it soon because it's already 9:30.
Yeah, I got to get going too because yeah, the wifey's calling right now. So hold on 1 second.
Well, do you have your video ready? Because I'm going to pull up a
yeah, I have it right here. Just
go ahead. Go ahead. I got you highlighted, so whenever you're ready to screen share.
So me and you, we have a globe on our desk, right? And we see it kind of reflect towards us. And as we move, it moves with us, right?
Yeah.
So like, check this out. Let's see here. This is at 227.
That's simply the angle of reflection.
Exactly. It's reflecting towards us, right?
Yeah.
But check out this video. Why is it not reflecting towards the camera? Watch this. It's right here. Let me go ahead and screen share.
Before I even see it, I'm going to suggest that it probably is, otherwise you wouldn't see it.
All right.
Otherwise, I mean, honestly, if there was no light coming towards the camera, how is it even possible to be seen?
I mean, yeah, it's like, so this one right here directly shines towards us, right? On the globe on our desk right now. But if you look here, does this look like it's doing the same thing?
I'm still waiting to see it.
Oh, can you see it?
No, you're not sharing yet.
Okay, hold on. It says I'm sharing, but
I got you highlighted, so whenever you do it, it should come up.
You are screen sharing. Yeah, it says I am. What's going on?
Well, I see a video that's
I'm not.
you know,
see it?
not running yet. Yet.
I'm not seeing
Okay.
anything. Okay, I got it. I see it.
You see it? Yeah.
Go ahead,
You guys
Henry.
clearly see that, right? Let me go back a little bit.
For me, you stopped sharing.
Right
I
there.
don't know if anybody else can see it. I can't see it.
I don't
I
think
can
you,
see it.
I don't I don't think you have Henry locked in, right?
I do. I got it highlighted. I do.
well,
Click on his little box too.
I just unclicked him. There it is. Now I'm going to click him so he's full screen and stays there. There you go. There it is.
Okay. Here it comes.
Try to pause that video right when you see the hotspot.
Okay. Here it is. It's coming up right here. Right there. You see that?
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
clearly not shining like how our spherical ball right here is shining towards us. If I move
Guess
my
what,
head,
Henry? You see that the sun is directly ahead. It's in line between the camera view and the hotspot. And if you drew a line between the camera eye and that hotspot, and then you drew a line from the hotspot to the sun, the angles would be exactly the same. That's reflection. It's
okay.
the only
Yep.
reason you can see it is because it is in fact going towards the camera.
Yeah, it's because it's shining light towards in that direction and coming towards us. Yes, but it's not coming like how it is on the spherical ball of Earth that we have on our desk. Is what I'm saying.
Well, for me, I've got a kind of a chandelier that has a bunch of these little candelabra lights. It's not a single point of light like the sun.
Okay.
So, I mean, I do see a hot spot coming from the general location of my chandelier. But in this instance, you're talking about a single point of light, which is the sun.
Yeah.
And the only time you see that hot spot is when the camera is facing the sun. It's just an angle of reflection.
can I propose a slight shift of topic from sort of the debate of is it flat or is it round? Here's the evidence for spheroidal. Here's the evidence for it spheroidal. Here's the evidence for it round. Or here are the arguments, or here are the ideas. Let me recast this in the following way. Either globe Earth is the PSYOP hoax conspiracy, or flat Earth is the PSYOP hoax conspiracy. And now let's sort of debate it in or discuss it along those lines, right? Which one is more likely to be the PSYOP, the hoax, the conspiracy? You see what I mean?
Well,
I think. Go ahead.
I would love to read what I've written, but I don't know if we have enough time to do that and cover the other things. I mean, it's not extremely long, but
all right, it's my turn. I want to share. I've been wanting to share a couple of these videos. Now, our surveyor is not with us today. He's with his family. And this is not his video. This is another YouTuber. This is Wolfie6020. And I will make sure that everybody can see clearly who it is in just 1 second here. Everybody got this? Are you watching? Can you see me? See my
I'm gonna try
screen?
to stay
Yep.
on as long as I can, Aaron. I gotta really go. But
All right, this is only 6 minutes. This is only a 6 minute, and I won't even have to play the whole thing.
all right.
Okay, but just everybody let me know that you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, this is Wolfie 6020. So anybody wants to go check out this guy's got tons of expensive toys, surveyor equipment, telescopes. Go check this guy out, and I'm going to play just a few minutes of this video. This piece of equipment that he's about to display and show and use has an accuracy. Forgive me, but I did write it down. Where did my note go? The accuracy is something like, flight paths. I want to get to the flight paths too, because he does a great job making sense of the flight paths, which is kind of important. We need to cover that. But I'll tell you what, this thing has an accuracy of something like 2 millimeters per kilometer. Okay, get that in your head. Let that sink in. This piece of equipment has accuracy of 2 millimeters per kilometer. Now, I'll jump forward a little bit. We don't have to watch the entire video. He unboxes it, and he talks about it, and he shows it. But then he shows it in action. And I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to spare you some time. But this piece of equipment, and I forget exactly what it's called. It might be in the description box. He buys the tripod, yada, yada, yada. But he puts it in action, and on this video, he shows it. But once again, this piece of equipment is a surveyor equipment. Accuracy of 2 millimeters per kilometer, which is astonishing. And this is about halfway through. I'll let it play right here of just about 3 minutes or maybe less. But check this out. Play.
So this instrument has an accuracy listed as 2 millimeters per kilometer.
2 millimeters per kilometer.
Object 40 kilometers away, that's about 25 miles in imperial. The error is going to be no more than 80 millimeters. That's less than 4 inches. So looking at an object 25 miles away, this is going to show us the position of level to an accuracy of better than 4 inches.
Can you hear him okay?
More than adequate.
Turn it up a bit.
I'm up all the way. He's not very loud, I'm sorry. He's looking out the window. I'll narrate for you if you can't hear him. He's got his P900, the Toronto Tower,
Now, beside that, I have this dumpy level, which is 32.
a dumpy level. That's what it's called, is a dumpy level.
Bubble. Dumpy line that shows exactly level with our current position. We'll see where it intersects with Centerpoint Tower.
So I'm sorry that the audio is so quiet. His dumpy level is set to be perfectly level.
Does he mention what floor he's on?
I believe he does. I skipped ahead in this video. I'm pretty sure he does. This guy is very good. He doesn't leave much or anything to the imagination. So for anyone curious, go over to Wolfie 6020 channel and check out some of his videos. So this is about, you know, the argument that the horizon is always rising to eye level. That's what this video is about, and he's showing that it absolutely does not.
So the W absolutely proves that the horizon does not rise to eye level.
So I've heard this argument. It's a highly disingenuous argument about that the horizon is always rising to eye level. But okay, that's a short example. I'll go ahead and stop it there. That's pretty much the end of the video anyway. Wolfie 6020. Let me highlight. I'm just going to expand that so everybody gets a good look. Wolfie 6020. This guy's got tons of expensive toys. He's a pilot. He's an amateur astronomer. Go check out his videos. Now, one of the other things that I wanted to mention was there's a famous image and video. This is all over YouTube, claimed by flat Earth people that the Chicago skyline is, visible across, I don't know, a lake or a fjord or something that's supposed to be like 27 miles. And according to the elevation, the 8 inches per mile squared, you shouldn't be able to see it. And yet you can see it. And there's tons of flat Earth videos that say you can see it perfectly. Well, I got news. You cannot see it perfectly. I'll show you another video. Go over to Truth Heresy 3 channel. And he, despite the fact that he bashes flat Earth, I can't speak for the guy, but he talks a little shit. The fact is, it's a disingenuous argument. When you compare an actual photograph of the Chicago skyline to the images that are used on YouTube, you can see that many of the buildings are cut literally in half.
Yep.
When you see the side-by-side photographs, you see that somebody is lying, and it's the flat earthers that are lying about it. I'm sorry, but that's just the fact. It's a disingenuous argument. Wolfie's got a lot of great videos, and there's another video I would like to point out, and I'm pretty sure it's Wolfie's video. Here we go. This is only 4 minutes long. It's a time-lapse video of a ship going over the horizon, and quite clearly the ship is disappearing from the bottom up. Now, I'll skip ahead because he talks for a minute or two before he gets to the point. And I'm pretty sure it's Wolfie's video where he accurately, because he's a pilot, he accurately calculates the flight paths, which I thought was probably the most compelling argument of the flat Earth, movement or community. The flight paths was, for me, the most compelling argument. But he destroys it. He tells you how to calculate exactly. And if you've got a few more minutes, I'll show you. So there, look, you see the ship is not shrinking in size, but it is disappearing from the bottom up. I mean, the size is comparatively there. The whole bottom is gone. And then he takes some images of the sun. Let me try to get to the point here. I don't want to belabor the point. I don't want to waste a lot of your time. But anybody who doesn't believe me, just go over to Wolfie's channel and check out his videos. And if I can find it real quick, I would really like to show this video where he shows how to calculate the flight paths. And just bear with me a second. I'll find it here in just a second. Ocean. Here's another one, time lapse of the ship departing Perth. This is a good video right here, just showing a big freighter ship going over the horizon. He takes up Jaren's challenge. He uses his little, puts a laser in some clay and mounts a laser on a globe, and he circles it around a pinpoint on the ceiling. Here's another one, the proof that the size of the sun does not change. He's got the proper filter on his telescope. And when you watch the sun come and go, it doesn't, the size actually doesn't change. When you have the proper filter, because you can't rely on the atmosphere, you get a big old coronal expansion of the sun when it goes through the atmosphere. That's just not an accurate way to measure the sun. And the guy's got tons and tons of videos using a lot of specialized, expensive, highly technical, and highly accurate equipment. Expand. Let me see if I can find this flight path, because it might have been Jesse that destroyed the flight path. Airborne.
I think it was. I know Jesse did something on that order.
He did.
Yeah, I do believe.
Here we go. Here it is. Here it is. Analyzing aircraft flight paths correctly. Here we go. This is 8 minutes. And all right, let me pause this. I want to turn the volume back up. Now he doesn't talk very loud, so listen carefully. And if you can't hear it on this show, go over and watch the video. There it is, right there. And I'll just show it one more time. This is Wolfie's channel, analyzing aircraft flight paths correctly, flat Earth or globe. Where do they make sense? So, and again, I won't take up all of your time, but you let me know if you can hear this guy, and let me know if you can't hear him. I'm going to play it.
We're going to have a look at Qantas 27, which is the direct flight from Sydney to Santiago, Chile, and it's just showing there that it arrived.
Can you hear it?
It was a 12-hour, 10-minute flight.
Barely.
What we're just going to do is have a look at the flight plan as it appears on the and then we're going to load in the exact flight plan to my professional app called FlightAware, which is a commercial aviation app. And with FlightAware, if you register an account and log in, what you have access to.
He says with FlightAware app, when you register and log in, you have access to all this extra information. All of the waypoints, which is he's showing you right here. Okay? These are the waypoints. Then he explains very clearly and very easy to understand why and how this all works out.
File flight plan.
So when you punch in these waypoints on his Navigator app on his phone,
DCT means direct, so it's Sydney.
he goes through the technicalities here, and I'll jump ahead just slightly. And here on his phone, he's got this app that allows him to put in the waypoints. And then he talks a little bit about if you cross over certain boundaries, like from one country to the next, it gets a brand new waypoint. And that's why you'll sometimes see a couple of waypoints that are close together, because usually they are crossing over certain physical or political boundaries, like a country, border. And of course, obviously they extend into the ocean. But here, right here, when you punch in all the waypoints on a round Earth, you get a straight line. But on the mercantile map, somewhere back here, he showed the mercantile. There it is.
Have a look at the flight.
On the mercantile map, you're going to get that weird curvature-looking thing. Okay, because it's a flat two-dimensional map representing a 3D Earth. But here, when you punch in all the waypoints and then you put it on Google Earth or whatever app he's using,
Did we lose Aaron? I'm not hearing him.
Yeah, I'm not hearing.
I'm not seeing him either.
Yeah, I think he might have conked out.
Might have, because yeah, I'm not seeing or hearing anything. I don't know, this opportunity to read my little piece.
Yeah, do it.
Okay, well, there are points that I make after, you know, I started with the flat earth very open-minded. In fact, at one point I sort of readjusted my perspective to the flat perspective and started eventually noticing problems. And so I wrote, okay, these are some of the problems that I encountered. Okay, first, of course, the north-centric model, at all, you know, does not work. It would have the stars in the south whipping by at a fair clip in nearly straight lines, with different stars seen from different southern points. But the stars in the south circle around a point, no visible star there, mirroring the behavior of those in the north, always due south from wherever one can see it, anywhere in the southern hemisphere. Second, on a flat plane, when going upward, once you get above things that block the view, you would see all you can see. Going up further will show no more. But when we go upwards, we see more and more of the planet, exactly like one would going up from the surface of a ball. The flat earth movement is rife with disingenuous arguments, ignoring scale, gravity, optics, friction, refraction, and misstating distances to prove flatness. Dubé did that, by the way. Why does the truth need even one disingenuous argument? Fourth, though the flat earth proponents have said that if you get a stronger instrument, it will bring ships back into view that sank hull to crow's nest at the horizon, I have watched ships sink with binoculars and then switch to a fairly powerful telescope. And nope, it does not bring them back into view. Once sunk, they cannot be seen, and so there are people out there lying to prove the flat earth. Why would the truth need even one lie? Fifth, the fact that for eons sailors have been calculating latitude in the northern hemisphere by the position of Polaris, with a direct correlation between latitude and degrees above the horizon, proves a globe. This cannot happen on a pancake. Polaris would never be at the horizon. It says, when Polaris is at the horizon, something that cannot happen on a pancake, at the equator, 0 degrees. When it's 45 degrees up from the horizon, one is at the 45th parallel. Sixth, on a globe, eclipses can be predicted. The movement of the planets can be predicted. The seasons explained. The zodiacal progression. The phases of the moon. And other things the flat idea has nothing to offer for. And my biggest point is that the flat earth needs disingenuous arguments and lies and has no model that explains what we see. The globe needs none of those arguments and has a model that explains what we see perfectly, simply, and elegantly. Which model has the highest probability of being correct? And that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I think I think those are strong arguments for the globe model. What I was trying to open up is this idea of obviously this thing is happening, this debate, right, or a pseudo debate, right?
Yes.
That's I don't want to say it that way because that is biased on my point, on my side. I'll just land back on the idea that it is a debate. I do tend to lean towards the idea that the the flat Earth movement is a psyop of one kind or another. And here's where I think it gets kind of interesting. Is it only, well, as psyops go, often they have several different layers to them. So I think we could start being more discerning, more careful about, you know, landing on this idea that, oh, it was only supposed to do this thing or that thing, and therefore it's bad, right? And I'm not accusing you of doing that, right? I think that you and I actually went to a similar place at some point when, yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago, where it seemed to have a lot more exposure. Seemed to a lot of the players that we see now came out and you know, ended up in my recommendeds on the side of the and what attracted me to it is this idea of, oh, a conspiracy that large, could it possibly be true?
Yes,
right?
exactly.
That's absolutely fascinating, right? Could it be? Could that actually be, right? And so I went, I think it was what Aristotle that is quoted as saying, an indicator of intelligence is the ability to hold someone else's opinions and ideas without believing them, right? It's to so it's not, yeah. So I mean, I went into it full bore, and I played the what if game of, wait, what if this is good, and I went and saw what are some of the arguments that they're making towards this, and I played that game also of, okay, I suspect that this is not a good argument. And I'm not going to then attack the lowest hanging fruit of that argument, and then dismiss it all. I really wanted to get a hearty